to introduce the very, very distinguished representative from the United States of America.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The United States of America does not support the Nobel Prize for Excellence in Education. The Bob Mubar's government is a dictatorship, and the United States philosophy is that democratic countries should be all around the world. Bob Mubar's government is killing people, so his actions are against human rights. So we don't support Mubar's Prize for Excellence in Education because Bob Mubar government is a dictatorship, and we at the United States of America, we support democratic governments all around the world. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much. Last but not least, please welcome the very, very distinguished representative from the African Union.
For having us here today. As a representative of the African Union, I'd like to say that, first of all, it is an honor to have the opportunity to stand here before all of you and speak on behalf of all the African nations. As the African nation, we would like to begin by, first of all, sending our deepest condolences to the people of Pakistan, that during this current situation of political conflict, we are hoping that the situation will eventually quell down. We would also like to mention that we condemn the actions of the United States of America and also Kyrgyzstan for infringing upon the sovereign rights of the people of Kyrgyzstan through military intervention. We feel that it is important to always support the sovereign rights of any nation, and until the nation has called upon any country to help them, we feel that this is an infringement on the people of Kyrgyzstan. Furthermore, as the representative of the African Union, we would like to say that we are still in support of the 3 million education prize towards helping countries within sub-Saharan Africa. However, as the African Union, we feel that perhaps it is important to actually look for sponsors other than Mubar, because we feel it is important not only through education to support people who support and uphold human rights and who do not infringe upon country sovereignty, who do not also infringe upon personal rights in committing crimes against humanity. Therefore, as the African Union, we feel that it's important that as members of the United Nations to stand together, to galvanize support, and to find new sponsors who will help provide 3 million towards the Mubar Prize or the UNESCO Education Prize, who will ensure that aside from providing education, we are also standing up for our international humanitarian rights of ensuring that people's rights are being supported and that crimes against humanity cease to exist. Therefore, we would just like to say that all your nations should stand with us in ensuring that we still provide education to those who need it, but also ensuring that we also support governments and leaders who uphold the rights of their people rather than take it away. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody, for going through all that nonsense with me. And you guys did a great job. Give yourselves a round. So I just want to say, and actually my time with you today is almost done, but I just want to say that this scenario is based on a combination of actual events. For any of you who are interested, when you get back to a home computer, Google Obiang UNESCO. President Teodoro Obiang is the president of Equatorial Guinea. He gave a prize to UNESCO of $3 million, which was actually just awarded last week under a great deal of controversy. Very much similar to this prize. The whole bombing by NATO thing was an incident that actually happened when NATO bombed radio stations in Libya last year, during the Arab Spring, and yet UNESCO came out and condemned NATO for that. So the point of this exercise was really to show you how, one, some of the things that are the biggest deal, especially when it comes to education, science, and culture, can seem like the most trivial things. An award to award people who are teaching, how can that be controversial? It is. And to show that oftentimes, even an organization like UNESCO, which tries not to be political, is sometimes, unfortunately, very political. Does that mean that it's a bad place to be? Well, it depends who you ask. But again, at least the current administration in the United States, our policy is that it's better for us to be there than not, and that multilateral diplomacy is important. So I guess that's it. I'll take like one or two more questions. We've got just a few. Any last questions before you lose me? Arnold, right? Arnold?
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you manage to balance your work and family?
Balancing work and family. It's kind of a personal question, Arnold. No, I mean, what I guess what you will find is, and then this sort of goes to what I was saying about a niche, is the older you get or the further along you get in your careers, you will find that other things come up. You want to get married, you want to have kids, you have a mortgage, you got to take care of your parents or whatever it is. So I guess that just goes, frankly, it gets more difficult, as you get older to maintain that balance. And when you're young, a lot of times, in some ways, I know young people worry that they don't have experience, especially now in sort of this global era of austerity where nobody's got money. Your youth is an advantage. Your inexperience is an advantage because people can hire you cheap, right? And so that makes you very employable. And part of the reason they can hire you for less money is because you don't have these other responsibilities that you have to do. It's just one way of looking at it. Your youth and inexperience isn't necessarily a disadvantage. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Diego from Brazil. I was just wondering, do your personal opinion agree always, never, sometimes with the foreign policy of the United States?
Great question, Diego. Great question. Everybody hear Diego's question?
Yeah.
So he asked, does my personal opinion always match with U.S. foreign policy? No, it doesn't. Does that matter? If I'm a professional, it doesn't. I've worked for political candidates who, even Hillary Clinton, I agree with her on 99% of everything. There's some things I'm like, what was that all about? But do I go out and represent her and represent the United States? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Great question. Great question. Any others? If not, I will turn it back over to my, yes, one last question right here from David. Collins, sorry. Collins, you look like there's another guy there. Anyway, Mr. Collins.
What would you say to the critics that America uses its power in the United Nations? Hasn't sent ICC.
So Collins asked, what would you say to criticism that the United States abuses its power? It's a good question, and actually one, there's a dynamic right now going on with UNESCO related to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And right now the United States has defunded UNESCO. And a lot of countries have come to us and said, hey, why are you such a bully? Why are you doing all this? Our response is that, we're not trying to act like a bully. We don't hate Palestinians. We're trying to, follow a process that creates peace. And that actually, is, despite all the spin, and that actually happens to be the truth. When we have internal meetings and so forth, nobody's sitting there saying, oh, those Palestinians, nobody's saying that. We're trying to create peace. Sometimes that's difficult to transmit, and so I think the answer is, when other countries look at the United States and say, oh, the United States is so rich, it's such a bully, is really sort of person-to-person diplomacy, often what's called public diplomacy or cultural diplomacy, where we're just think even this venue you have here, where you're meeting all these people from different countries. You're learning a lot. That's why at the beginning of this session, when there was some dead time, you might think, oh, when's the next thing? We've got all this downtime. You oftentimes do the most work and learn the most during the downtime, when you're waiting for the projector to get set up and you're talking to somebody from a country you've never spoken to before. That's when you learn. So I'll turn it back over to my friend Guy. One more last one.
Yeah, how does the United States deal with situations like this without having the conflict escalate?
Well, it's hard. So she asked how the United States deals with situations like the simulation without having the situation escalate. What the United States is very fortunate to have with its so many missions around the world is it's got a lot of levers, right? It's got a lot of levers. So, and it gets into what I was saying about multilateral diplomacy in terms of all that bargaining space. So let's say, we're talking to Australia, and there's another thing we need help on with Indonesia. We can go to Australia and say, hey, can you talk to Indonesia for us? And express to them why it's in their interest to do this other thing. You know, a lot of times, the world is so complex, and the more, and a lot of times it comes down to kind of the carrot and the stick. You know, if it's in our interest for another country to decide something a certain way, we have to make it in their interest to do that, either by giving them a carrot or making sure they understand that if they do that, there will be consequences. It's pretty simple. All right, guys, I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Joe. You guys be very nice to him. He's a good guy. All right.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, give another round. So how was it? Good. Okay. So I hope you learned a lot this morning. Eric is director of the UNESCO office at the State Department. So he's Mr. UNESCO. So what he does is that he makes sure that the government, everything that's related to UNESCO, Global Association, the US, is done properly. He's been the best executive director that we had since the re-entry of US to the UNESCO. So that's why we are happy to have you here. So after a wonderful day, I think you should give a round of applause to yourself. It is, wow, we did it. It's not even 12 yet, so this is wonderful. Is Claudia here? Yes. I'm going to